Welcome back to Hip Hop Vibes. If you've been with us from the start, you know how we began. First, we told the story of hip hop. Then we danced with the breakers who turned resistance into art. And today, it's time to hear the sounds that started it all. We're bringing you 10 tracks that laid the very foundation of the culture. Songs that didn't just shake the speakers, they built the identity of a movement. If you're about that real vibe, stay with us, because now it's time for the real deal. Let's go. Before there were microphones and spotlights, there was cardboard on the street, and rhythm from the speakers, and a voice. Raw, real, unpolished. This is the story of 10 songs that weren't just hits. They were a revolution. Welcome to the story of the tracks that shaped hip-hop, not just as a music genre, but as a culture, a movement, and a way to survive. We begin with the pioneer who started it all, DJ Kool Herc, Block Party. 1973, the breakbeat that changed everything. There was no studio recording, but it all started right here. In the steamy hallways of the Bronx, Herc split the drums and stretched the break. His parties had no price, but gave value to the movement. He used 2 copies of the same vinyl, same song, same rhythm, to double the break and give dancers more time to show their soul. He didn't record. He lived the music. When Herc dropped the record, the walls danced. It wasn't a party, it was a ritual. On those breaks, wordless but full of meaning, hip-hop was born. Sound was the only authority in the neighborhood, and Herc, its prophet. Everyone thinks Rapper's Delight was the first, but no. Fatback Band did it first. On March 25th, 1979, they released King Tim III, Personality Jock, a track that would quietly mark the birth of rap on wax. Tim Washington, a friend of the drummer, happened to be at the studio. They invited him to try something on the mic. What he said stayed forever. It started as a joke. The band just wanted something fresh at the end of the record, and they ended up making history. Sometimes, a revolution is born out of boredom and improvisation. In just a few minutes, a door opened. The voice from the streets could now become art. Nobody knew this was the spark that would set the whole culture on fire. The first song that brought hip-hop into homes around the world. On September 16, 1979, Rapper's Delight by the Sugarhill Gang hit the airwaves. Recorded with a live band, no DJ in sight. The lyrics, partially borrowed, but the energy, unmatched. Big Bank Hank rapped verses originally written by Grandmaster Kaz. Without his knowledge or permission, Kaz never received credit or a dime. Sometimes, plagiarism makes you famous, and justice comes later. Despite the controversy, the song became hip-hop's ticket to the world stage. It was an explosion of attitude, humor, and rhythm. Everyone knew the song, even if they had no idea what hip-hop was. The first women in the studio, before Salt and Pepper, before Queen Latifah, they made party hits, but they also broke down walls. Young, bold, colorful, and fearless. In December 1979, a group called The Sequence dropped Funk You Up, the first recorded rap song by an all-female group. The trio, Cheryl Cook, The Pearl, Gwendolyn Chisholm, Blondie, and Angie Stone, Angie B, stepped to the mic with confidence and style. One of them, Angie Stone, would later become a soul diva. But it all started with funky beats and fierce female determination. With laughter and rhythm, these women threw a serious challenge at the male domination of the genre. Their rhymes hit like a slap, in a society that never expected a woman's voice to echo this loud. While others were rapping for the party, Spoonie told a story. He was the first MC to bring narration, characters, and atmosphere into his rhymes. At just 18 years old, he laid the foundation for what would later be known as storytelling rap. He didn't have the fastest flow, but he had something the audience didn't even know they needed. A story that held their attention. A good story always outlives the beat. Spoonie wasn't just an entertainer. He was a storyteller. He opened the door for those who didn't have the tightest delivery, but had a truth to share. His rhymes were more than rhythm. They were testimony. An early form of collective performance, fast, complex flow. A group of MCs who didn't just spit rhymes, they painted the Bronx. In December 1979, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five released Superrappin, a nearly 13-minute track, more like a mini-concert than a single. Each MC took the mic with a distinct voice, trading verses with precision and pride. It was one of the first times that a crew brought coordinated group dynamics into a studio setting with layered rhymes, call and response energy, and battle-ready delivery. An attempt to capture block party energy and pour it into the studio. It wasn't about fame, it was about survival, expression, and truth. It felt like watching a documentary in real time. Through lyrics, you could hear the tension, the hunger, the hustle. Their sound wasn't clean. It was raw, imperfect, and urgent. And that's what hit the hardest. The first rapper to sign with a major record label. A song that made dancing a legitimate form of expression. Every break section was a celebration. Released in June 1980, it became the first certified gold rap single, a landmark that echoed far beyond the dance floor. Kurtis Blow became the first rapper to perform live on Soul Train, a moment that shook pop culture. While others sang ballads, Kurtis Blow moved to the rhythm of the streets. The Breaks was a bridge between the underground and the mainstream. At a time when many still doubted, Kurtis Blow proved that hip-hop could be both business and revolution. The first group to bring hip-hop to national television. On Saturday Night Live, February 14, 1981. The track they performed, That's the Joint, had been released in November 1980. It was already gaining momentum in the streets, but this was different. MC Sha Rock, known as the mother of the mic, was the first woman to grab the mic and make the crowd listen. The group had no matching outfits. They came on TV wearing their own styles, raw, original, unapologetically real. When you're the only woman on stage, your voice has to be twice as loud. That performance wasn't just a song, it was pure energy, a mix of fun, technique, and attitude. MC Sha Rock didn't just rap. She showed the world that women weren't a plus one in hip-hop, they were a pillar of the culture. In April 1982, Planet Rock was futurism in rhythm, a fusion of Kraftwerk, funk, and Afrofuturism. The song introduced a sound that paved the way for electro rap and shaped global hip-hop. Using the Roland TR-808 drum machine, the track set a new standard for decades to come. Planet Rock broke boundaries, from Europe to Japan. The future was not an escape, it was an instrument. It wasn't looking back, it was looking toward the stars. It was a vision where hip-hop didn't belong only to the Bronx. It belonged to the entire planet. Released in July 1982, The Message was the first song that opened the door for social criticism in hip-hop. Through powerful verses, Melly Mel painted a raw picture of life in the Bronx. Poverty, struggle, and at the same time, a glimpse of hope. These rhymes were not fiction. They were a document of reality. This wasn't a club hit. It was a slap to society. It was the sound of sorrow, anger, and hope, all wrapped in one verse. Its message echoed across America, and forever changed the way people looked at hip-hop. These songs weren't perfect. They didn't always follow the rules, but they were honest. And they were the first. If we know how hip-hop breathes today, it's because they once breathed without breath.